like as a comic, are you making these observations just all the way around, or like? Because you started as an aerospace engineer,
What's up with that,
which is
dude?
crazy unique, right?
That's not normal. That's not a normal. What if I got bad advice from someone? I'm like, how do you become a comic? He's like, well, first you become a mechanical engineer, and then you work in aerospace for 4 years just to be. Not really. I mean,
engineering jokes.
Just lunch breaks, you're just making all the boys laugh. They're like, become a comic. And you're
not
like,
an
okay,
engineering school, but like an elementary school. Yeah, like I would do sketches. I would be funny around the lunch table. And then I switched schools, so then I became a little more introverted when I switched school systems. But like my core friends, I could still be me, but it would take me a while to open up to the new group. Like you had to be my core friends. Like I'm not gonna be bouncing off the walls. In front of everybody. Yeah, and that's the trouble with like when people know you're a stand-up comedian, they think that I'm gonna go to a party and just be like Robin Williams or some shit. Right. But there are so many different shades of comedian. Like sometimes I lay in the cut. Like I'm with my friends, okay. But if I don't know you, I'm just kind of like observing, chilling. I'm not gonna be like,
yo, hey.
Like, yeah, I'm off the clock.
Funny.
I'm off the clock. Like, But I'll definitely be taking mental notes and kind of jotting stuff down if something strikes me, and then do it on stage and try it out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So how was that transition? Like, what was the first step you started doing? Like you started going on stage? Like you just quit your job immediately, or like?
Nah, it was kind of layered. Like I had to be pretty methodical about it. So I think like, okay, I graduated high school, and then I started doing stand-up that summer. So I just started doing open mics. I would drive to Seattle, living at my parents' house. And that summer I would just drive, do open mics. And then you kind of do a thing for long enough, you become part of the scene. So I would do open mics, and then I would get good. And then you get on some booked shows where you're not just writing your name on a list in like buckets and a hat. Yeah. That's how it is when you first start. And you do 3 minutes or 5 minutes. So then you progress in the scene and all that, and then, then I went to UW, so I got an engineering degree. So my parents didn't really want me to do comedy and stuff, but like I was still getting my degree, so they couldn't be too mad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Because
hobby.
I'm still, Like it's just a side thing. Yes, exactly. So it's like one for you, one for me. Yeah. No harm, no foul. And so that's all I did. I just did stand-up, and I did engineering for 4 years, and then I picked engineering because I wanted to be able to get a job pretty easy. Yeah. That's a pretty, like 4 years, you'll have a job. And I knew I was just going to apply to jobs in SoCal. So I got my degree, and I just applied to a bunch of jobs. And
why SoCal? Is it because you knew you wanted to get into the comedy scene?
Yeah. I mean, it's different now with social media and stuff because like you could be famous anywhere, or you can kind of turn heads. Like look at like Logan Paul and stuff, like where they started. Like you don't have to move to a big city before you have to.
Sure.
But back then, that wasn't around. Yeah. So as a stand-up, you eventually had to move to New York or LA. And that still is true. If you care about stand-up, I think like that's the happening places. That's where like the best stand-up is going on. New York and LA. And now Austin kind of is also like a sister city. So I'm West Coast, Seattle. I can visit my parents super easily. I'm not from the East Coast. It just seemed way easier. So that's why. And I wanted to do TV and film too. Just everything screamed LA. Yeah. So that's why I applied to jobs in SoCal. And then I got a job at Boeing in Long Beach. So that was the closest I can get. And I'm on Google Maps. I'm like, Like, you don't live in LA. You don't know how long. I'm like, that's pretty close. Dude, I almost got a job in Anaheim. I'm like, okay. Like, I wouldn't be a comedian if I got that job in Anaheim. Yeah. So then I was working at Boeing for 3.5 years while like half stepping it. I would drive up to Hollywood and do shows and stuff. And then finally I got to the point where I had to make the jump. Like it was obvious the job was holding me back. Yeah. And that's the dream scenario that I always wanted to be at. Yeah. I wanted it to be obvious where like, okay, now this thing is holding you back. And so it was easier for me to jump where I'm like, all right, this is the time. Yeah. Yeah.